Welcome to the Den of Dissent. This is a show where we challenge the current culture and mainstream talking points of the day. What is the news telling us? What is the culture telling us? Where is our civilization headed? And by what standard do we judge these issues? Do you agree or do you dissent? Let's find out.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mhm.
No,
Yeah,
I can't.
you can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the meaning
biologist.
of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as a judge, what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the
All right.
law and I decide. So I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
So I'm trying to see things through his lens, and I want you to see some things through his lens as well. Another thing he talks about is pilots and certain pilots being hired because of the color of their skin. Do you want, if you're getting on an airplane, do you want to know how comfortable would you feel about the fact that your pilot got hired because of their sex or their race? And do you know why he's bringing up that particular issue? Is because he talks about United Airlines a lot. And I don't know if some of you know this, but United Airlines actually had a program where they wanted to promote. Let me just bring up the article. Okay, this is United Airlines. It says, few women of color are pilots. United Airlines flight school is changing that. So United Airlines wanted to hire a specific, a certain amount of people based on their color and their sex. And they wanted to do it because, you know, they want to diversify the employees. It says United is the first major airline to have its own flight school and aims for half of its pilot candidates. Sorry, my mic just cut off. United is the first major airline to have its own flight school and aims for half of its pilot candidates to be women or people of color. The airline says 80% of the first class, of which Foster and Arroyo are part, they're talking about certain employees, are women or people of color, because United says it is committed to ensuring that at least half of its aviate pilot candidates are women or people of color. So would you consider that racism if a company is hiring on the base of race or sex? So if a company, so I want to talk to people who are Hispanic, Black, Asian, whatever, and you go to fill out a job application for to be a pilot or to be an engineer, and they say, sorry, at this time we have to hire more white people, actually, because we just have way too many Blacks here. We have way too many Asians. We have way too many Hispanics. Okay, it's way too much. We have too many Cadillacs here. What if they said that to you? And they said, we need some more whites. So we're going on a little freeze, and we want to get some more white people in here, and we want to get some more men in here. How would women feel about that? Is that not racism? Is that not discrimination? The reason why you don't think it's discrimination is because you're a person of color. See, it's not racist when you do it to them. Right? When it's done to someone else, it's not racist, but when it's done to you, it's racist. And a lot of people, I mean, even to the point where people have said that Black people can't be racist, or, you know, Hispanics can't be racist, or any other group of people can't be racist. Only white people can be racist. Do you see the double standard, the inconsistency, the hypocrisy? But anyway, that is what Charlie Kirk was addressing. He was talking about United Airlines and what was going on there. So it's not that he thinks Black women are brainless. No, he's talking about certain Black women that he didn't think were intelligent, like Ketanji Brown Jackson, who couldn't say what a woman was. He's talking about Joy Reid being a narcissist, Joy Reid said that Twitter wouldn't exist or something like that. Twitter wouldn't, without people like me, Twitter wouldn't survive. That's a pretty bold statement to make. You're talking about a whole social platform, and you're just basing it around you. So what the man is saying, he's referring to specific things. So I'm trying to get you to understand where he's coming from and to see exactly what other people are saying before you just say that the man is a bigot and a racist and full of hatred. Okay. Now, I want to play some other clips from Charlie to show that I don't think Charlie was a racist. I don't think he was a bigot. I don't think he was full of hatred. I don't think he advocated for violence. And these are words that are coming out of Charlie's mouth. These are clips. These are discussions that he had about when he went to different college campuses. That's another thing that you got to keep in mind. This man actually went to college campuses to have discussions with people that he disagreed with. Okay, some of the people that are advocating or saying that, they want to dance on Charlie's grave, he's a bigot, he's this, he's that, all the name calling and the hatred. Some of those same people, I guarantee you, will not sit down and have a conversation with people about their differing opinions. They'll get upset, they'll attack you, they'll storm off, they'll be full of emotion. They don't even want to talk to you. They don't even want to be your friend. Some women will split up their relationships with their boyfriends or whoever if they find out that you support Trump. That's how crazy it was when Trump got into office. You know how many relationships I saw like just go sour, like friendships. I had friends that would have questions about Trump and would say just certain offensive things, willing to cut off a friendship because of your political beliefs or your political ideology, and instead of wanting to have a discussion. That's what Charlie Kirk did. He actually talked to people that he didn't agree with. He wanted to understand. He wanted to reason with people. So let me play some clips for all of the non-believers, all of the people that accuse Charlie Kirk of being a violent, racist bigot. Let me play some clips from the so-called violent, racist bigot to see if he really fits that description of how you have described him, of how he's portrayed online. Let's play some clips. So he actually talked with the man, a black man, about DEI. So this is good. Let's hear this clip.
But I'll tell you exactly what
I'm unqualified
surgery. She's not going to be like, oh, I'm so glad I have a black surgeon. She would want the best surgeon. They don't even believe
exactly.
Their own
You want
crap.
the best surgeon.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
last year you said something about DEI, unqualified black pilots. You see a pilot on a black pilot. Don't you think it was an irresponsible statement suggesting that maybe these pilots aren't qualified or unqualified?
No. But I'll tell you exactly what I said and why I said it.
Okay, go ahead.
I said, the pretext, I went through a whole windup. I said, United Airlines is saying that they want 40% of all their pilots to be people of color or women. We have learned that we have relaxed standards anytime that we try to reach racial quotas. Anytime we reach racial quotas, we relax the standards. Standards for air traffic control, professors, or college admissions. Therefore, when it comes to pilots or surgeons, if I see somebody who is black, as I said on the show, I'm going to hope that person is qualified. That's what I said, which of course is legitimate because they're begging the question, we're not hiring based on merit anymore. We're hiring based on race.
Now,
So when you see a black pilot, you wonder, boy, is that person there because they earned it or because they were placed there? That's what DEI does. It makes you ask questions you otherwise would not ask.
so the airline industry is going to take an unqualified person just based off diversity.
Underqualified, not
correction, yeah.
underqualified.
Unqualified, whatever, uncertified, and put them in a cockpit and risk people's lives?
Those are two different things. Under and un are two different things. Of course, United Airlines will not take someone off the side of the street and put them in a pilot. But in order to reach a 40% goal, they might cut corners. They might accelerate the process in order to reach a goal. We know this through all sorts of DEI examinations and projects over the last 10 years. You have to choose in life. Either excellence or racial quotas will end up being the most important. And both cannot simultaneously exist. It's never happened before.
Okay, so when we talk about DEI, well, who benefits the most? Because black people really don't. It's only like maybe 3 to 4% of black people actually benefit from those programs. So who benefits the most?
I'm not sure your question. I mean, theoretically, if 40% of all pilots end up being black people or
But
people of color,
that's not. I actually looked it up. It's only like maybe about 6% of
no,
pilots
their
are black.
goal is 40%, right? That's the point. It's like that's actually a great point. So they wanted to go from 6% to 40%. And so you have to wonder, boy, you go from 6% to 40%, there's going to be a relaxing of standards.
Okay, I guess the way let me see if I can rephrase this. So essentially, when you talk about DEI, affirmative action, or anything to that effect,
I'm against all of it, yeah.
okay, yeah, and that would be fine. The thing is that now it's actually referenced as a slur against essentially if you see a black person in a position or minority or whatever, the assumption is that that person is not qualified when literally, and you have to be qualified in order to even to get in that position.
Well, so let's take college admissions. So this is a great example. At Harvard, we learned because of new revealed documents that black students were having test scores that were 30 to 35% lower than their white counterparts.
Okay.
And so therefore, if you saw a black kid at Harvard, it's a fact that they were not having the same test standards as their white counterparts.
Still doesn't matter. The kid has to get through. He's got to get through the classes, do the tests, do all the research.
Well, and they actually
pass
drop
everything.
out at a greater rate too. But the point being is just the idea that they were there, number one, took a spot from an otherwise qualified individual that might be white. And they were not there on the same merits. So what we want is the same rules for everybody.
You're making the assumption that they're not qualified in order to get in. In order to even get there,
It's not
be
the assumption,
considered.
it's the data. So for example, it's literally at Harvard, you had kids with perfect SAT scores, perfect ACT scores that were white.
So that makes a degree from Harvard worthless then.
Well, you're exactly right. Yeah, actually, Harvard's degree is becoming more worthless because it's more race-based than merit-based. You're exactly right.
Okay, now we talked enough.
All right, so I'm gonna quote you real quick.
Okay.
You said if I see a black pilot, I'm gonna be like,
I'm just going to run through some of these clips. But again, there you go. Charlie Kirk is just arguing for a culture of excellence that's based on skill and performance and not color. So he talked to a black man about this, and they had a civil conversation. Okay, so I don't expect that kind of behavior to come from a racist, hateful bigot. That's not the kind of behavior that I would expect. So when you guys accuse Charlie Kirk of this kind of thing, it confuses me because this is what I see. And you know what? 90% of people don't do this. 90% of people are not necessarily having these discussions with people that they disagree with. Most people, they disagree, they get mad, they move on to a different topic. This man actually sought out to go talk to people that he disagreed with or people that disagreed with him. And he listened to them and he heard their opinion. This is how you have dialogue with people. This is an open line of communication. Let's play another clip.
boy, I hope he's qualified. Are you gonna do that?
Based. You're exactly right.
Okay, now we talked enough.
All right, so I'm gonna quote you real quick. You said if I see a black pilot, I'm gonna be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Are you gonna do that?
Yeah, I mean that is correct. Yeah.
That's correct. Okay, so can we both agree?
What was the context of what I said though? 'Cause you
What was
got-
the context? I don't even want to get into DEI because your opinion on DEI, it doesn't really help it in this case. So, if the context between what you brought up was that you believe that
because
it's
they were being
of
hired
DEI?
because they were black.
Okay, so can we both agree that every single pilot, whether black, white, whoever, has to go through FAA
No.
certification?
No, actually,
We can't?
New lawsuit shows that black pilots and female pilots have the standards being relaxed.
No,
for them.
sir. Can we agree at the time of February 29th or 2023 when you said it at the time? No?
No, actually, I said it. That's why you don't know the context. Is that new lawsuits were showing that they were relaxing the standards for air traffic control and pilots in order to meet the standards.
The context of that was diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that have to do with hiring?
Everything. DEI definitionally is that we will hire more of a race versus a different race. So, for example, United Airlines said that they want 50% of their new pilots to either be women or black.
Okay.
Currently, just so you understand, it's like 8%. So they want to go from 8% to 50%.
Okay.
And every time DEI is implemented, every single time, the lowering of standards occurs. Every single time.
Lowering of standards?
Correct. So can I prove it to you? We both want excellence, right?
Okay.
If you and I said, hey, we want 50% of the new people going in the NBA are white,
Okay.
would the NBA drop in its standard?
No.
No.
The National Basketball
Yeah,
League?
no, if we
like
said
the
50%,
NBA?
if we say
If 50% of the NBA dropped and it was only white.
No, I
you're
said-
saying,
I
you're
said
saying would the
you're not-
standard go down?
I'm not hearing what I'm saying. If 50% of all new people going in the NBA were white, by decree, would the quality of play of the NBA decrease?
would
Yes.
the quality of play in the NBA decrease?
Yeah.
No, if they're the same standard of basketball player.
Hold on, let's talk realistic.
Well,
do
what are
white
you saying realistically? You're asking me if
75% of the NBA is black. 75%.
So does that mean white players are less better, or does that mean
Whites are not as good at basketball as blacks. I mean, we got some big.
Everybody, calm down.
We got some big exceptions. I mean, we're very proud of Larry Bird. Okay.
No, he's
and
good. He's good.
We're very proud of Luka and Nikola. However, the point being, let's implement DEI in the NBA.
Okay.
If all of a sudden 50% of all the players have to be white, which means they have to say no to otherwise good black players.
There was a time where this happened, right?
Well, no, I of course, and the league wasn't as good. That's the point.
No, you understand that there was a time where the exclusion of African American players was in the NBA, right?
No, for sure. I acknowledge that. And the league got better as blacks were allowed in.
Did it get better, or did we just integrate ourselves in?
Well, hold on. No, but wait.
The players in the league averages around that time weren't worse. We just got better.
Hold on. Do you actually think that, why is it that 75% of the NBA is black?
Right now?
Yeah.
I mean, well, it was a certain point around 1965
why
where
is
a
it?
law
Answer the
passed
question.
where we can actually...
Why is it that 75% of the NBA is black?
Because we integrated into the league.
No, because the best players are allowed to play in the NBA.
Well, actually, the best players in the NBA are European born.
Well,
They're not even African American.
I mean, a couple of them are. As I said, we're very proud.
No, we're very integrated within sports, but what does that prove?
That proves that the NBA is not built on DEI, it's built on excellence.
The NBA isn't proof. So when you mention DEI, you're now saying that it's...
You obviously don't know what DEI is. DEI...
How I know what DEI is if you're not giving me a proper explanation
DEI
on what
is
it is.
racial quotas.
Racial quotas?
Yes. You've never heard of DEI before. So, do you know what a racial quota is? You have to have a certain amount of a certain race. That is what United Airlines did. Mm-hmm. We must get to 50% of our pilots to be black or women. Therefore, if the NBA said 50% of our players have to be white, I guarantee you, we could try to get as many Serbs and Croats as possible. It's not going to make the NBA the best league. Instead, the NBA has a policy of which the NBA and the FAA and the United Airlines should have the same policy. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It matters how good you are at what you do.
All right, let me stop there. Okay. I don't know how much more common sense that could get. I thought that was a perfect example of him talking about the NBA, using basketball as an example. If the NBA was to say, we're gonna implement DEI in the NBA, and we want to hire 50% of whites to come play basketball, what would happen to the league? What would LeBron James say about that? Obviously, that would be discrimination. And what would that do to the quality of the league? Because, Charlie Kirk is kind of admitting, he's saying, hey, white guys are not really as good at basketball as black guys. He said, we got Larry Bird. But what would that do to the quality of the NBA? So you wouldn't implement DEI in the NBA. You base allowing a basketball player to come into the league based on skill. If you said, well, we gotta look at his race, we gotta look at his color, and allow him, we gotta make a determination off of that, whether or not he gets into the NBA. Even if the guy could not dribble a ball for anything. What would happen to the NBA? Seriously. So again, that's just, in my opinion, it's reverse racism. Okay, now you apply that same standard. That would be affirmative action for the NBA, pretty much. So if you apply that to different industries, let's say, or different sports or whatever, any industry, you think about it, what would happen if you stop basing employment or positions or access based on skill? If you stop doing that, what would happen to the quality of that industry? Anyway, I thought I can't even say anything more because that's just so common sense to me, So let's keep playing. I'm going to fast forward this clip because these guys, they kept going back and forth. So again, where is the evidence of this man being the guy who you have portrayed him to be and saying that he is deserving of death and some of you saying you would dance on his grave. Is this the guy? I can't see it. Anyway, let's go on.
What do you?
Give me your perspective on DEI, and because based on what I heard earlier, I feel like you don't think I belong here.
Oh,
because
really?
Of
Why?
How I am a black man, and because of DEI, I'm not qualified enough.
Are you?
To be here? Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Then you belong.
But why do I have to prove that to you?
You don't. You brought it up. I didn't.
Okay, but can you explain to me your position on DEI?
Yes, people should not be in positions just because of the color of their skin. Hard stop.
Okay, but do you feel like I'm here because
I'm not feeling anything towards you, actually. I'm not prejudicing you. I'm not stereotyping you. I'm saying that it's a material.
I'm not saying you are. I'm not saying you are.
No, you are. You said I don't feel comfortable being here. You started with.
I didn't say I wasn't comfortable being here. I said I feel like you made it to where I got here through DEI.
So let's examine that. What have I said that makes you feel that way?
When you mentioned how DEI is only just putting people of color and marginalized groups in spaces, even if they're not so and so
Correct.
qualified.
That's exactly what DEI does.
But that's not all that it does. You're categorizing it as something it isn't.
No, that's exactly that is like that is the charter mission.
That's not all.
Okay,
that it
so
does.
diversity, equity. So equity is outcome based. It's about making people who are of different skin colors have the same outcome, regardless whether or not they are qualified. The best example we have of this is the Students for Fair Admission Harvard Supreme Court case, where black students, they could have a SAT score 300 points lesser than the Asian equivalent and still get into Harvard. That is DEI in practice. I believe when you're hiring for an organization or for a company or for whatever you are doing, you should prioritize merit and character, and race should mean nothing. We should build around things that matter and not things that don't matter.
Okay, but you have to also take into the fact that black people have only been able to completely legally be able to make profit for themselves for around 60 years. And this is no. Since segregation ended in 1965 and the Equal Rights Act in 1965, so what you're telling, there's not.
How did that? So let's talk about you. How did that impact you? How did something that happened 60 years ago impact your life?
It impacts me all the time.
How?
What do you? Okay.
You're at Texas A&M. You're doing great.
Okay. Yes. Sure. Yeah.
So aren't you a living example that all that's a bunch of nonsense and you could just act good and behave well and succeed?
But there's also living examples of the exact opposite. If you look in the impoverished neighborhoods in certain parts of Chicago or St. Louis, there's black communities being thrown aside because they're not getting education.
Thrown aside? Okay,
yes,
so
thrown aside.
I think we can get somewhere. Why have the black community gotten poorer since the passage of the Civil Rights Act? Tell me that.
Because of the way the culture has been perpetuated through the years.
Hold on. Think about it. So they were richer when we were segregated and more racist. America's become less racist.
What about Tulsa?
I'm going to pause it right there because he goes into culture, black culture and the civil rights movement a little bit. That's a whole different arena that I would like to comment on, but I'll save that for another day. So a few things that he said. Well, let me ask you this. The people that believe in DEI and affirmative action and these things, you say that you don't want racism, you want to eradicate racism, right? Because you want full access to certain things. And so is Charlie Kirk. He's saying that he wants full access for everyone, right? But when you say you attack racism, but yet you're okay with affirmative action and DEI and all these things, how do you fight racism with more racism by using programs like DEI and affirmative action? Because all affirmative action is doing really is basing employment or acceptance of something or acceptance on a job or an industry based on color and sex, which is racism. That's discrimination based on your color and your sex or whatever standard. So how are you fighting racism with more racism? So the same people that would tell me, that would argue with Charlie Kirk about not approving of DEI because they feel Charlie Kirk is racism, those are the same people that would say we need to have DEI and affirmative action to fight racism while at the same time saying that racism is bad because DEI and affirmative action is based on the color of your skin, the same thing that Martin Luther King talked about. He said he wanted to live in a nation that would judge him based on the content of his character. Isn't that what you want people to do with you? Isn't that how you want people to judge you, based on the content of your character and not the color of your skin? Aren't you then going against Martin Luther King Jr., who a lot of you claim is your hero, right? So you're contradicting even Martin Luther King's dream. And you say that's your hero. So apparently you don't agree with Martin Luther King either. Because Martin Luther King, in a sense, Martin Luther King was advocating for earning your spot, earning your way. He was arguing for a society based on merit and skill, kind of like what Charlie Kirk is saying. He believes in cultural excellence, working your way, not the content of your character, not the color of your skin, but the content of your character. Would Martin Luther King be DEI, pro-DEI, affirmative action? I don't know. Anyway, we'll go down that rabbit hole. But all I'm saying is that you can't fight racism with more racism. So, again, that was another clip I wanted to play. What else did he say, actually? I want to bring this up. He said to this man, this black college student, he said, why can't you get further, or why can't you go further in life? He said, you're here, aren't you? You're in this college because you act good. You're basically doing the things that need to get done to get ahead in life. He's telling this man this. He's saying, yeah, you're here because you did a good job. You conducted yourself in a certain way that allowed you to get here. That's all you got to do. You didn't get here on, DEI, whatever. That's all you got to do. Just put in the work and, you'll get far in life. How is that racist? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. Okay, let's go on to another clip. Let me see. They had a pretty long exchange, but let's play this clip that he had with another college student. Same thing. We're talking about racism again.
Waited through the 200.
Who's up?
That we don't think that being.
How are you?
Hi. Yes. I don't know am I supposed to say my name or just? Okay. My name is Gigi. I guess I'm mostly on the side of disagreeing because I feel like I don't think that behind this presidency, I don't think that this country is headed towards a bright future. I don't think that under this presidency that we are going to stand united. I think that it is going to divide us even more, and that it is dividing us. And I also don't think that this presidency is built on a love of all people. I feel like whenever I hear Trump specifically talk, there are notions of not black people specifically, but people of color being seen as murderers and rapists, and it's specifically targeted towards brown people. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is, my question for you is, do you think this country, or do you think that Trump is going to do the American public right in the overall of his presidency?
Yes.
Okay. Are you worried about the state of this country under his presidency when it comes to economic setbacks, when it comes to another Great Depression, when it comes to stocks going down, et cetera, et cetera? Are you worried that
No.
he is not going to do anything like that?
I don't have those concerns. And by the way, inflation's going down, and the price of eggs is going down, everybody, big time. But go ahead. I want you to thoroughly complete your argument, and then I'll say something.
Okay. I guess basically the point of my argument is I think that President Trump, and I think that this country's view, especially when we're coming now into DEI and we're coming into defunding of Department of Education, we're coming to taking the Tuskegee Airmen out of being
That
taught.
has been reversed, just for the record.
Okay,
the
okay.
Tuskegee Airmen.
But there's been multiple other things besides Tuskegee, but also like, the whole debate on critical race theory, teaching slavery in schools, teaching Black history, et cetera, et cetera. These are things that are being targeted specifically when it took years and years to even get them in place. I think that this country is built on using the Bible, not even 100 years ago, to defame and to dehumanize Black people. There has been use of the Bible specifically when people used to come into the church and talk about how slaves should obey their masters, and how that's what the whole relationship between white and Black people were. I think that this country specifically has a lot of racist rhetoric that is built in, that is not being targeted. I think
Got
that.
it. So let's try to find
Yes.
some common ground. Is that okay?
That's fine. That's fine.
Can you give me a definition of racism?
Racism, in terms of, I will say, okay, before I
You
give,
use the term,
yes,
so I want to make sure we're
that's
talking
fair.
about the same thing. Is that cool?
Yes, that's fair. I will say that I will state that I am biased because I will be speaking as a Black person specifically from the United States of America, and not anywhere
nice.
else. But I will say racism is a discrimination.
Let me just pause it. So it sounds like she's talking about racism a lot, but she can't necessarily define what racism is. She says she's biased. She clearly says she's biased because she's a Black woman, right? Somebody yells in the crowd and says something. Charlie Kirk says, "Be nice." So here you have a Black woman voicing her opinion in front of Charlie Kirk. They're having a dialogue. Somebody in the background yells something. Charlie Kirk's response is, "Be nice." And he's saying, "Be nice to this Black woman. Be nice to this woman. Be nice to this human being." Again, is this what hateful, racist bigots do? Where is it? This is what I'm trying to find out. Because he could have immediately just shut her down and said, get out of here. Go back home to Cadillac. He could have said that, right? He could have said something crazy like that, but he didn't. This man has open dialogue. He is reasoning with people. Let me just play the rest of the clip and then keep going.
Against people of a minority that does not have a, okay, what is racism? Racism, without using the word.
Can't use the word racism.
Can't use the word. That's what I'm trying.
She can't
A
define what racism is.
discrimination against a minority class of people in order to create an unbalance in the society or a hierarchy based on something that is undetermined as of color, race, the color of your skin, or maybe even color of your skin.
Can you be racist against Asians?
Yes.
Can you be racist against white people?
I believe that you can have prejudice against white people, but
All right, let me pause that. He asked, can you be racist against white people? She took a long pause, and then she said, I believe you can be prejudiced. Why is there such hesitation? Why? And a lot of people think like this. A lot of people believe that you cannot be, only white people can be racist. You can't. What that tells me is that there's a feeling of moral superiority, I think. It's there's like a moral arrogance there from certain people of color that feel that I can do no wrong, but you can. You, white man, can, because you're the oppressor. You're the one in history who has enslaved people, right? Because this is what you're taught, that the white man is the devil, okay? You point the finger at this white man, at this person of a certain color, and blame the evils of all the world on this particular person. But when it comes to you, you're excused. No, I can't be racist. I can't. Because I am the victim in all of this. I am the innocent victim. This is the mentality that a lot of people have. That she had to pause and say, I think white people could be prejudiced. She couldn't even answer straight up and direct, yes, you can be racist towards white people. She couldn't even really answer that question. And this is a young woman, right? So just imagine the older generation, how some people think in the older generation. And the thing is, she's not even living during segregation. She's probably living a good life, relatively speaking, if you want to go back and compare her generation to, times during slavery or the civil rights movement. So she can't even say that. This is the mentality that's been ingrained in people. This moral arrogance, in a sense, this victimhood kind of mentality where you're blameless in a situation. You can't even admit that you could be racist towards a white person. Let's keep going.
In the way that this country was built and the way that this country has been founded and the way that there are many laws that have taken place, specific like where you were talking earlier with the whole reparations debate, there are many legacies of white people in this country that...
Guys, okay, let's just all take a breath. Gigi's talking.
Which I also would like, I feel like that kind of comes into, yes, we're not all from this country. This is a country of immigrants. This is a country of people from other countries.
So let me give you an example.
Yes.
If a group of black individuals, which happens unfortunately so often, say, we want to go beat up Whitey, and they go beat up a white person, was that a racist thing that they did?
I would have to ask for further context, but yes. Based off of that,
cool.
Yes.
So, but then let's go back to your definition.
Do you see that? She couldn't even answer that. 100%. If you attack a white person physically, was it based on the color of their skin? She can't even answer that 100%. She would say, I would have to say, do you see the reaction? The lag in the reaction? That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. But if a white man attacks a black man, boom, it's racism. If a white man coughs, it's racism. George Floyd, all you had to see was a white man's shoe on a black man's neck or face, whatever. Some people say it's the face, some people say it's the neck, right? All you had to see was that, and you jumped on the racism boat. Quick. You had no context. Do you see? But see, when it comes to white people, there's a different standard that gets applied. This is the moral hypocrisy that I see over and over again. And it's crazy to me that this girl, she's a college student, probably younger than me, that she has this mentality. That means that this mentality has been just going on for so long. It has been passed on. It has been handed over to generations. And it's like, it's contagious and it never stops. Just my observation. Let's go on.
Because your definition was that it had to be the exercise of power. I'm going to make your definition better.
Yes. Based off of that,
cool.
Yes.
So, but then let's go back to your definition. Because your definition was that it had to be the exercise of power. I'm going to make your definition better for you because the exercise of power against a minority group.
Yes.
But in that case, it wouldn't be because it would be a group of black individuals versus a white individual.
Correct.
So wouldn't a better definition of racism be a human being or institution prejudicing or stereotyping against anybody else because of their race?
I do agree that is a better there's a better definition in terms of how racism is used in society, in terms of setting people behind not. I'm
gonna go to some other clips because this was a long one, but I just wanted to point out those examples. So let me fast forward to some other clips. Again, this is the guy that you call the racist bigot. I'm still trying to find, the evidence here. This is my cross examination right here. Let's go on further. Sorry about that. And you remember, he said, be nice to Gigi. This is what this girl's name was, Gigi. He let Gigi speak for a while. Okay? Just keep that in mind. He gave this black woman a platform. Had a respectful conversation with her. I didn't see anything wrong with that. Okay.